Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. Yet another amazing show. In the first hour, we're going to be speaking to Klaus Dona about new technology reveals previously unknown ancient sites, and trust me, and more. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about all the products and services I offer, including medical intuition evaluations, energy healing, and psychic readings. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can jumpstart your intuition today by downloading their free 50-page guide. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. And if you haven't gotten your copy of Icon, Deconstructing the Archetypes of the Ancients, it's still available on Amazon.com for $1.99. How can you beat that? I mean, unless, of course, you want to get a hard copy DVD delivered directly to your home. That's available on the Soul Healer website. Let me tell you a little bit about Klaus, and we will get him on the air because we have a lot to talk about. Klaus Dona comes from the art world. As art exhibition curator at the Hatsburg Haus of Australia, Klaus has organized exhibitions worldwide. With this background, his approach to archaeology is unconventional. He has traveled the world in search of unique and unexplained findings. Intrepid and unrelenting, he is on a mission to bring to the eye of the public such finds as giant bones, carvings, and sculptures in the form that do not fit into the contemporary view of our timeline. His website is klausdonachronicles.com. Please welcome Klaus Dona. Hey, Klaus, how are you?
Hello, Dr. Rita. How are you? Thank you for inviting me to this interview.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I have heard through the grapevine that you have some really new groundbreaking material that hasn't really been reported on. And so I feel honored to have you come on the show to bring it to the world, help bring it to the world.
Yeah, there are some good news, of course, especially concerning the giants, which is now getting internationally a very interesting content. A few weeks ago, I was called by the biggest private Japanese television company. They heard about my studies about giants, and they asked me if they can come to Vienna to do an interview with me. I accepted, and when they were here and they did the interview, the director of the program asked me if it might be possible to take one piece of the Ecuadorian giant bones to Japan to do age dating and DNA analysis. We did DNA analysis already about 3 years ago. We tried to do it with the only one archaeological DNA expert here in Austria, but he could not get any DNA from this bone. So we were wondering if the Japanese would have a better technology, and it looks like they have it, because they informed me a few days ago that the age dating was done with carbon 14 technology, and the age of the bone is 23,300 to 23,800 years. That means quite a real old age.
Mm-hmm.
And they also could get a DNA out of that bone, and it does not fit the DNA of Homo sapiens sapiens.
See, I
I'm
feel
quite,
like there should be a drum roll in there.
I beg your pardon?
I said feels like there should be a drum roll in there with the big reveal. That is amazing. Were they able to tell anything other than it wasn't human DNA?
I get on 30th of May or beginning of June, the director is coming again, bringing the bone back and all the analysis. So I can check it again with our experts here in Austria. And I'm quite sure the Japanese, I know how they are working, because my main work for over 20 years was in Japan. I was about 160 times in Japan, and I know how good they are working. And I'm quite sure they that they did a comparison with animal DNA, because there are several big databases of all kind of animal DNA, and I'm quite sure they did it. And I'm really waiting now on the printed report from the institute, from the laboratory.
Let me ask a couple of questions about the bones. So you said that they were found in Ecuador?
Yes, and they belong to a 25 feet giant.
That is big. I thought you were going to come back with, one of the 7 to 12-foot giant, 25 foot.
Yes.
In the in the
There are
report that you got, I'm sorry, you have my head spinning here. In the report that you got, does it even relate to any kind of hominid? Do you know the DNA?
the DNA, no, the only answer I got from the television producer that it does not fit the DNA of Homo sapiens sapiens. So that's why I'm waiting on the printed DNA analysis. But when the bones were found 1964 in the south of Ecuador, I also received a paper from those days where it is signed by 10 different people, also some doctors, that those bones belonged to a human being with a size of about 25 feet. And of course, I did a lot of research, and there was one famous historian of the conquistadors, Ciesa de Leon, and in one of his reports, he was writing, today we found at the coast of Esmeraldas, that's the Pacific Ocean coast of Ecuador, today we found several human skeletons which were 5 times taller than we were. That means if you think about the size in those days and you multiply 5 times, you reach about 7.5 meters, which means approximately 25 foot. And we found also in small museums several human axes with big size. One of it is about more than 2 foot, and it's made out of granite. You can see even that it was used in the past. It's very heavy, and that would be. We did also comparison with normal stone axes found there in Ecuador, and we multiplied the normal size. We reach about the same of about 2 foot. So there's a lot of really approval that those giants really existed. a very good friend, Ecuadorian researcher Manuel Palacios. He also sent me pictures from the Cuevas de los Tallos. That's a huge underground tunnel system in Ecuador. And there was one photo with a huge hall, a huge door you could see. And there was a kind like a human being on this photo. So I called him and I said, "Is on the right side of the entrance, is this a human?" And he was laughing. He said, "No, the little small black thing on the left side, that's my friend. And what you thought is a human, this is a wall painting. And can you imagine how tall this wall painting is? Exactly 25 foot."
Wow.
And the hole itself is so big that it doesn't make any sense for a normal sized human that they would have built this huge hole underground.
How did they manage to hide the bones away for so long? We hear stories of bones being unearthed and then they disappear. How did these not disappear?
Yeah, it depends how the earth is, and there's a lot of clay in this area. And the bones were found in an area which is called, in the old language, Cemetery of the Giants. And one day there was a heavy storm, and a part of this platform in this small valley was breaking down. And in the morning, they found the broken bones all over this area. So that means one of these skeletons was broken through the earth, because the earth there, the clay, is so hard that no water could go through. So that's the only explanation why those bones did not disappear after 23,000 years.
And I'm thinking a little more current. We hear stories of the Smithsonian taking bones and them disappearing forever. Is the government in Ecuador more open to, I'm going to say, an alternative history on the planet? That they would keep these bones and have them be public?
The bones were in private ownership by Father Carlos Vaca, who found them when the people in this small valley in the morning saw all these big bones, broken bones. They called Father Carlos Vaca. He was a priest working many years in hospitals, and he came there, and he could immediately identify those bones of a human being. So the family kept some of the bones, and as the family information said, Father Carlos Vaca brought many of those bones to a museum in Guayaquil. We tried to find out if they have those bones, but it was negative. So still, I could bring some of the bones to Austria for doing further research on them. And of course, after the final result, which hopefully I receive now from the Japanese laboratory, I bring in July, when I travel next time to Ecuador, I bring the bones back, and I also will inform the Ecuadorian government.
Excellent. When you were on the show the last time, we had talked about some giant stone masks that had been found, and I don't remember off the top of my head where they were found, but I know they came out of Mesoamerica or South America. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. You are talking about the black stone masks which were found in Bolivia, and those masks belonged to human being also with the oversize of about 2.5, 2.8 meters, which means 9 feet, approximately 8 to 9 feet human beings.
Okay, so they weren't as big as I was thinking. Wow, could you imagine if those masks would fit on these 25-foot giants? I guess it would.
Oh no, they are not that big.
Not that big.
No. But still, also 9 feet is also quite a big size.
It is a big size. Has there been any plans to go to that cemetery area and try to do any kind of more excavating with this material coming forward?
I was there. I talked with the landowner, and of course, I'm trying to get the financing to ask at least two archaeologists, one maybe from Austria, but one definitely from Ecuador, and then we try to get the official allowance to do a dig in this area, because I'm quite sure that there are several other skeletons, most probably under the earth.
And what I was thinking, the idea of interring a body with grave goods goes back to deep antiquity, and having it be a cemetery, wouldn't that be unprecedented to find, items that were ritually associated with this giant interred with him?
Could be, of course, you are right, but that would be a problem for the official science, because as we know now that the bones are about over 23,000 years, and if there would be if there would be find some artifacts, it would give a huge missing link from the oldest known civilization in South America, the Valdivia culture, which goes back approximately 4 to 6,000 years, and then we would have quite a big missing link.
Well, one of the things that I talk about in my book, E.T. Chronicles, is the dating of the flood, where we find a number of cultures around the world talking about a date somewhere between, I put 25,000 BC to about 35,000 BC, where I believe that the giant race was annihilated due to the flood. Do you think that they disappeared off the earth because of a catastrophe such as the flood?
That could be. You are right. That's what I also think, because I think also that there was not only once a global catastrophe, because we found also a petrified human hand and a human foot in a stone plate in Colombia, in Villa de Leyva. This is an area where you find millions of fossils, and the stone dating by geologists in this area, this kind of stone goes back between 120 and 140 million years. And that's not the only thing which was found there. They found also petrified, cultivated fruits and vegetables, like corn, banana, pineapple, cocoa beans, avocado, all cultivated petrified fruits and vegetables.
And you're saying over 100,000 years ago is when it's dated to?
No, that goes millions of years back, because the stone where the petrified hand skeleton, human hand skeleton and foot skeleton was found is dated approximately 120 to 140 million years.
Oh, not 1,000 years ago, million years ago.
Million years. And of course, the research of Michael Cremo.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote also in his book, he found also approval that humans lived already millions of years ago on Earth.
And I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. There is something that I have played around with, the notion that there was a large, I'm going to say, colony group of people that lived in the Americas, and then something happened and basically annihilated all of them, so that when the Native Americans came here, 12 to 20,000 years ago, they came to a fairly pristine environment. What do you think about that notion?
You have several very good researchers now going deep into these informations about the past of America. For example, all the mound excavations. I received also from friends approximately over 200 old press releases, press reports from New York Times and others, going back starting from 1880 up to approximately 1925, 1930. And all these reports are writing exactly who was the archaeologist, where was it found at the excavation, in which area, and it always ends up in most of these reports that those giants, let's say 7, 8, 9 feet, some of them with double row of teeth, they were brought to the Smithsonian Institution.
And then disappeared.
It looks like.
It seems like all the roads lead to the Smithsonian and then end there. Well, we have a lot to talk about, so let's shift our attention here. Because one of the things that you had mentioned to me that I would like to talk a little bit about is some new technology that's been developed that has been used to uncover ancient sites around the world. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yes, a few years ago, a very good friend of mine invented a very new sensational technology, which goes into the quantum physics also. It's a technology, a combination of 3 technologies, and he is able to do underground scans. That means we could find already some hidden archaeological sites, especially one approval we had in Australia, because through a good friend of mine, Bob Newton, he called me and he asked me if I could help 2 Australian researchers, father and son. I think you interviewed them already, the Stones. They found in Australia a stone wall with over 300 Egyptian hieroglyphs, old Egyptian hieroglyphs. And of course, for the official science, this is a hoax, most probably done at the end of 19th, beginning of 20th century, in an area where usually never ever somebody is passing by. And you can imagine, Rita, that doing over 300 hieroglyphs in stone, in carving, is quite a real hard work, first of all. And then you wouldn't do it as a hoax in a place where 99.9% nobody would ever pass by and be surprised. Logical wise, it's not real. I mean, it's not logical. So we did 3 years ago, when I was invited by Dr. Samos Managic, who is doing the work at the Bosnian Pyramid in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I was invited to a conference, and I saw the list of speakers. There were some PhDs and engineers, so I thought maybe I should bring something special with me for my speech. And I asked my friend if he would be able to do a scan over the so-called Sun Pyramid, which he did. And at the end of my conference, I could show Dr. Samos Managic and all the other people there the complete tunnel system inside the Sun Pyramid, also showing a room, and inside the room we could detect bones and precious metal. That means it looks like there is a grave inside in the center of this Sun Pyramid. So when we did the scan, and Bob saw it on this interview, he informed the two friends in Australia, Stephen and Evan Strong, and they asked me if we could help them to do a scan over the area of those hieroglyphs, because the translation says that there is a grave of an Egyptian high-ranking person. So they never ever could find something which looks like an entrance to a grave or something like this. So I asked my friend again, and he did a scan over the area, and he found far behind this stone wall, he found a tunnel entrance, and the tunnel was going into the direction of the hieroglyphs, and close in the area behind the stone wall, there he could see a room, and inside the room, bones and precious metal, which means definitely a grave. So I sent this scan to Stephen and Evan Strong, and following weekend they went already there, and they found at the area where we gave them the GPS position of the possible entrance to a tunnel, they found a huge stone structure and an entrance to a man-made tunnel, definitely.
Wow.
Because he sent me the pictures, and you could see that this tunnel is 100% not a natural tunnel. It is man-made with big stone blocks. But after approximately 11 to 12 meters, which means about 40 feet, the tunnel was closed with also man-made blocks of stone. And when I saw the pictures, I called Stephen and I asked him if there was a big earthquake in the past in this area, and he said yes. I think he said 1976 around, there was a heavy earthquake in this area, and I think this was the reason, or might have been the reason, that this tunnel after 40 feet was broken down. So they asked the government if they might be allowed with a geologist to open this tunnel, but the allowance was refused. And still, those hieroglyphs are a hoax. But I am definitely sure that this is correct and it's original, and that would mean that 4,500 years before our time, already the Egyptians were sailing to Australia.
And that's when you pretty much date the carving, because I would think that based on the style of the carving, you could get an idea of what period of Egypt.
No, the
No.
translation which was possible, the translation says about the time of approximately 4,500 years.
Well, that was convenient.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And it would change the Australian history.
Well, it would change everybody's history, because they said we were not a seafaring that far off culture, So.
Oh, there are better things, like in Spain, there are wall paintings with worldwide the how you call it, the ocean drifts, wall paintings around the whole world.
I'm not sure what that means. The ocean drifts. What do you mean by that?
Like the El Nino. How you call it in English? The stream, the ocean streams.
Oh, like the jet stream?
Of the ocean, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there are wall paintings which are going back 13,000 years, and on that wall paintings you could see the jet streams of the water in every ocean around the world.
That is kind of mind-blowing because that not only says that they were probably using them, but they also had the understanding
The
of
knowledge.
them.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're talking about Steve and Evan Strong, and I mean, they are great guys, and I love the material they're bringing forward. And one of the things, and I would just like your input, one of the things that they talk about is the belief that humanity or civilization actually started in Australia and then went out of there. It wasn't out of Africa, it was out of Australia. Based on your research, do you think that their notion can hold up?
That's not really my field, Rita, but I think there is something because we have also kind of approval, not yet 100% by scientists, that Atlantis as a continent and Mu as a continent in the Pacific Ocean really existed. Because after the scan in Australia, my friend got highly interested in, and he did further around the area where these Egyptian hieroglyphs are, and he could find a completely destroyed city, which is approximately 12 kilometers, I don't know in American miles, 12 kilometers, a huge area with anomalies, meaning destroyed buildings, which shows us on the scan that there is a completely huge city destroyed 5 to 8 meters under the ground. That means it's close to the ocean, and for me it looks like this city was destroyed by a very big tsunami. And then I asked my friend to do a scan over the Easter Island because
Ooh. Tell.
yeah, and he did the scan, and you know what we found? We found several very deep underground graves with bones, with gold, and with precious stones. And you know that there never ever was a gold mining or precious stone mining on the Easter Island. And when I got the result, and some of the graves are always connected in a certain distance behind one of the Moais. So for me, it looks like the Moais are a kind of a gravestone. And you know that they are now excavating some of the Moais on the Easter Island, and they found out already, Thor Heyerdahl found out that some of them are going deep inside the earth. And they did a few excavations around those Moais, and they found out that it's the whole body, and on the backside of them there are very, very strange symbols or a kind of unknown writing. And when I got this scan from my friend, I I read the books of Thor Heyerdahl, and on the first book of his first expedition to the Easter Island, after reading a few pages, I found a sensational information he was writing. When we arrived at the Easter Island and I got the contact to the elders of the indigenous people there, they told me that long, long time ago, they buried the kings on this island. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
The kings. And we have graves with gold and precious stones and bones. So now is the big question whom we can contact, which institution or archaeologists who are willing to excavate one of the graves which we could give the exact location on GPS position. And then it would be very interesting, first of all, are those skeletons normal human size or bigger ones? Second, it might be possible to do, of course, an age dating, but maybe also a DNA analysis. And that would be a really sensational discovery for the archaeology and the science.
Well, I mean, there's been so much stuff that has been started associated with Easter Island. I know that Robert Schoch had gone there and tried to I'm going to say scope out, check out the stratification in the area where they were doing the excavation of the Moai to see if it had been buried, via some kind of a disaster thing, or if it was just naturally buried, or if it was an intentionally buried. He wanted to look at the geology around it, but wasn't able to get close, and haven't really heard anything about that. And then I know Brian Forrester had done some work regarding Easter Island, and the stonework that they found there is very similar to what we find in Cusco, and he had heard stories and reports of redheaded elongated skull people, which we know from some of his work, some of those heads and skulls are huge, or larger in size, I'll say.
There is no really how to say a fact that there were elongated skulls on Easter Island. I don't know where he got this information, but Thor Heyerdahl, he was a really great researcher. He didn't mention anything like this, and he was able to talk really to the elders of the indigenous at the Easter Island. He was the first official scientific expedition there. He didn't mention any elongated skull. I mean, you cannot say something as long as you don't have an approval.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just reporting it. Just let's see. So we talked about that. We were talking about these finds and tunnels underneath the pyramid. And one of the things that has come up, and I don't know if this technology was used in it, was some tunnels in the pyramids in Teotihuacan, excuse me. Was the new technology used in the recent finds there?
No, not officially, but I know that who discovered this tunnel under the Quetzalcoatl Pyramid. Neil Stiddy, an American archaeologist and a very good friend of mine, informed me already several years ago that he found a tunnel which goes under the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl at Teotihuacan. And a few days ago, he sent me a PowerPoint presentation with the report what they found inside this tunnel. And the most interesting thing is, which first time was openly reported in the news, was that they found mercury inside this tunnel, mercury. And 2005, when I think it was the third time at Teotihuacan, and I got really friendship to the archaeological director of the archaeological site of Teotihuacan, Nestor Paredes. Nestor told me that that must have been 2003 or 2004, that he found one tunnel from the Sun Pyramid to the direction of the Moon Pyramid. And when he entered into this tunnel, he found a big stone box. And when he opened the stone box, he closed it immediately because it was filled with liquid mercury. And when he reported to INA, they closed the tunnel. Even he was not allowed to go in anymore. And later on, United States universities did the research inside this tunnel. But it never was published openly that mercury was found there. But this time, this year, they really announced that they found also mercury in the new tunnel under the Quetzalcoatl pyramid.
For people that are listening, how do you get liquid mercury? I would think it is not a substance that you can just find laying around, that it would have to be manufactured somehow.
That's the big question, and it would fit a lot of new artifacts which were found in Mexico, stones with incredible carvings. I received, it was approximately already 3 years ago, I received an email, top secret, with 10 photos. And when I opened the photos, immediately I thought this is a big hoax, because on some of the pictures you could see stones with ink carvings like UFOs, the sun with sun eruption, wormholes, black holes, and human-like people with elongated skulls, with very big eyes, a different style. So, frankly speaking, my first impression was this is a bad hoax. Somebody would like to cheat me, because I always said, as long as I don't have approval of UFOs and aliens or other things, I wouldn't talk about it. So I was wondering why I got those pictures from a lady from Mexico. So I wrote a nice email back with many thanks, and I asked her why she sent me those pictures. So she said, a farmer in the north of Mexico found on his ground a tunnel, and inside the tunnel he found approximately 3,000 artifacts. 2,500 are made out of stone with ink carvings, and about 500 pieces are made out of a special material. It looks like ceramic. So she wrote me that she knew already several years about this finding, and the farmer is very scared that when he makes it public, that the government takes his land and the artifacts. So she said she didn't know to whom to talk, and she saw many, many interviews, and she saw some of my interviews, and she thinks that I'm a serious researcher, and that's why she wants to introduce me to this collection, and if I can help to prove that this is a reality. So I wrote her back with 10 photos. You cannot say anything. So in the next few months, I received up to nearly 1,000 pictures.
Wow.
And some of the pieces, of the stone pieces, little statues, the inlays of the eyes are made out of gold. So that means this farmer is a poor guy, but he is a real serious man, because another one would have broken out the gold and would have sold it. He didn't do that. And some of the pieces have precious stone inlays. So I asked her if she can send me some of the ceramic statues, and I received some of them, and we did material testing. And the material is kaolin. Kaolin is a material which we are using for porcelain and also for paper making. So the material is okay, and 500 pieces, each one is different, from medaillon size up to 50 centimeters. That's nearly more than 1.5 foot. So if you do that, you have to make, for each piece, you have to make a negative form, a molding form, and then you have to make it. So that means a lot of work, and you must be a great artist. And why would you do such pieces which you never ever could sell? If I would be so good in making artifacts, I would make pre-Columbian artifacts, because that would be easy to sell for the tourists. So, a few years ago, when Nassim Haramein came to Germany and we had together a conference, I asked him to explain some of these uh, pieces. And we did it, and we asked the audience not making any photo or film. And one man made a film, and he was putting the film on internet, and you cannot imagine what happened then. Even the real UFO and extraterrestrial fans, they were writing on internet that we are hoaxers, we are cheating the people. These are all incredible pieces. These are fakes, frauds, everything. So Nassim asked the lady if he can lend two masks, two stone masks, which were covered with a mosaic made out of semi-precious stones. And he could get two masks, and he brought it to the university in Tucson, and they found out that these semi-precious stones were glued with a natural organic material. So they took some of this material and they did age datings, and one mask was dated 8,400 years, and the second mask 14,600 years.
Wow.
And when this interview was on internet, in Mexico, people watched it also, and they informed me from 3 different states, the indigenous people, that they have also such artifacts already since ever in family ownership. And now I know already about 4 states in Mexico, Aboriginal people, they have also hundreds of those stone artifacts. And now it's getting really interesting. And in the second half of July, I'm flying to Mexico and I can visit all these collections.
Amazing. I've seen the pictures you're talking about of, and when you look at them, you're right, they look fake.
They are too good to be real, but they are real.
That's just hard to believe. And, there were only a few images. I can't even imagine, the 1,000 pictures that you received. And that's not even all of the pieces.
No. In the one collection, there are 3,000 pieces.
Wow.
And this is really something. And very interesting was, I think it was about 2 years ago, I was, a friend of mine sent me, I think it was Nassim, he sent me a photograph by NASA where you could see the sun, and inside the sun there was a long, how you call it, like a pyramid, a dark material in the sun, a long triangle. And 3 years ago, that was at least 1 year before I saw this picture from NASA. It was new at that time. One of the first pictures I received from this lady, there was a stone plate, and in the stone plate you could see the sun with the sun eruption and exactly the same looking black triangle in the sun. So what does it mean? I don't know yet, but there is no coincidence, I think.
No, I don't think so either. In any of the pieces, and I don't know if you would know this, have they ever tried putting them under the black light like you did with some of the other pieces we had talked about earlier to see if they were luminescent?
No, and I don't think that they have any reflection like this. You are talking about the pieces which were found in La Mana in Ecuador. While gold mining, they found about over 300 pieces, and most of them do not connect any known pre-Columbian culture. So I think those artifacts were brought from Middle East to Ecuador, but long, long time ago. And the place where they were found is very famous because they have what I think the best water on earth. There is a well which has gold and silver nanomicroscopical form and about 1.5 million bovis energy, a water which is just better than any energy drink.
Maybe it is the fountain of youth that people have been looking for decades.
That would be an explanation why those species were brought from Middle East to Ecuador a long time ago. And there was also this world stone map where you could see one big continent in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. That means a drawing of Atlantis.
This is just, people keep making the comments, well, there's no evidence, but I feel like you bring forward evidence. And with the dating that's being done, 8,000 BC, 13,000, 23,000, we won't even go into the million one, 120 million years ago. We won't, that's for some people. I don't have a problem with it, but some people have issues, so we won't even touch that. But even those dates predate most of what we see as being civilized society that would have the technology to create these pieces in the first place.
Oh, yeah. And there are several other points which make me believe that Atlantis was not just a continent. I think Atlantis was a civilization which were at least in South Central America and Northern Africa and Europe, because also I think it's already 2 years ago, a South African researcher couple informed me about a place in Northern Africa. It's about 140 kilometers inside away from the Atlantic Ocean. It's called the Eye of Africa, and it is a round formation in a little higher rock area, mountain area, and the geologists are thinking that this was a big impact. But I saw hundreds of impact photos, and usually it's one crater. And this Eye of Africa, you have circles, several circles. So this couple from South Africa did a research on the spot, and they think that this was one of the Atlantis cities. So you can imagine, when I got this DVD and the pictures from them, I asked my friend if he could be able to do a scan over this so-called Eye of Africa. And we were surprised because he found on the higher circles, he found a lot of anomalies, which means destroyed buildings under the earth. And inside the deeper rings, he found a lot of bone material and even from partly precious metal. That means it looks like the explanation of Plato of the city of Atlantis, because on the higher rings there were the buildings, and then even my friend could check if there was a water connection between the inner circles with the Atlantic Ocean, which is 140 kilometers away, and there is only desert where you can see millions of shells. And he could also find out that in the very past there must have been a connection between the Atlantic Ocean and the inner circles of this Eye of Africa. That means it would be, for me, it is one of the so-called cities of Atlantis.
Well, and in Africa, from what I understand, you go back far enough in time and it was actually very wet.
The climate was definitely different long time ago.
But it also puts it further back in history than many people feel comfortable saying.
Yeah.
Has your friend ever done any work in South Africa? That, there are those stone circles and there are this terrace farming down there, but it doesn't, to me, it seems like there should be some kind of magnificent culture that goes back very far into antiquity that no one's really looking at all.
Exactly, because those stone circles, Michael Tellinger is doing a great research there, and I was 3 times already visiting him, and he showed me all around. For the official archaeologists, these are cow storages. 100,000s of stone circles. And they never did any excavation into the deep. Never. And I think they would find out some very, very special things. It's the same with the Bosnian pyramids. For the official archaeology, these are just mountains, not pyramids. But we know that these are pyramids.
So you're on the pyramid. How is Dr. Sam? He kind of has dropped off the radar. Is his excavation still doing good? And have they come up with any new discoveries?
Just last week, they found, they excavate the Ravne labyrinth. And while they were excavating one of these tunnels, they found a big stone blocking. Just moved around the stone, and what they found, 150-meter an open tunnel with water inside, like a water storage. So again, this is not naturally, this is man-made, and further investigations is continuing. And one tunnel goes into the direction of the Sun Pyramid. And we showed Dr. Sam that there is from the pyramid a tunnel going to the direction of the Ravne tunnel. And they are now also working into this direction. And I hope soon they can find this tunnel, and hopefully it's open. Then they would be able to go directly inside the pyramid.
Wow. And I know that Dr. Sam had done some radiocarbon dating on some organic material that they found on the top of the pyramid, on one of the stone surfaces, and that dated back to like 25,000 BC as well.
No, they found organic material while excavating the Ravne labyrinth. And also now in the new found open tunnel, they found also organic material, and they are just now trying to get the age dating. But we are talking already of an age between 20 and 30,000 years.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I find it interesting that we're finding where everyone has been trying to keep history, in my opinion, to 10,000, like the flood happened 10,000 years ago or 12,000 years ago. And then, and everyone's trying to keep it in that box, where before it was the 6,000 years ago box. And now it's just expanding and exploding to a much larger array of times and dates.
This is the great thing in science. You see, it always changes because we get better technology. There are better people working on it, maybe. So the connections through the internet, exchanging informations. So everything helps to get deeper and deeper into our past history.
Which is going to be very interesting if the material that was on those stones that are in Mexico are true. Oh my God.
For me, there is no doubt about they are true. And the final approval we make or we try to get in the second half of July. And I could also see the other collections, and I also got the information that one province, the people there, they did also a special research on technical research on some of the pieces, and they found out that some of the stones have an overlay of a very thin, like enamel, some material which has no color, nothing, but it is so strange, and we wait now also for further details.
Klaus, I know our time is up, and you are going to have to come back when you have like these big handfuls of new material. You have to contact me, and I will get you on. Okay.
Okay. Promise. Yeah.
It's a promise. It is totally a promise. But we need to go. I need to go to a commercial break. Thank you so much for spending time with me and the listeners.
Thank you very much for your invitation, and greetings to all your listeners.
All right. Bye, Klaus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.
You're listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
Are you looking for a cure for boredom? Never worry. IRN's new interactive website introduces a number of ways to pass time while you listen to your favorite show. Choose anything from the IRN chat lounge, the game lounge, video lounge, or the mood lounge. These fun, exciting features let you chat in real time with fellow listeners, view live skywatches, play daily posted online games, or pick a show based on topic. The choices are endless. Use your time wisely, keeping it all on IRN.
Who were the gods of antiquity? They've been described as the forces of nature, levels of consciousness, and aspects of our psyche. Stories that depict their incredible weapons, their flying machines, and their amazing adventures are characterized as being the product of our ancestors' fanciful imaginations. But what if the tales of the gods are true? Did the writers, chroniclers, and scribes of our distant past actually document a realistic view of our origin? My latest book, Man-Made, The Chronicles of Our Extraterrestrial Gods, looks at our most ancient legends. Learn of the torrid romances, elaborate plots, violent scandals, and conspiracies that played out in antiquity. Find out the role the gods played in the life and culture we have today. If you want to find out the truth of who we are and where we come from, order your copy of Man-Made today. For more information, go to www.manmadethechronicles.com. That's www.manmadethechronicles.com.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Move past the crossroads in your life and discover alternative solutions to your deepest concerns at soulhealer.com. So whether it's a physical problem, an emotional issue, a question about work, or troubles in your relationships, naturopath and medical intuitive Dr. Rita Louise can help you. Bring peace, harmony, and health back into your life. Schedule a session today. Visit soulhealer.com right away and live the life you've been dreaming of.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
We only have a couple of seconds before we have to get back to the show, and I want to tell you how you can jumpstart your intuition today. Using my free 50-page introductory guide filled with simple, revolutionary, and proven techniques, you can ignite your intuition and tap into your inner wisdom, all from the comfort of your own home. The Institute of Applied Energetics is the leader in online home study instruction for those interested in becoming a certified medical intuitive, intuitive counselor, or energy medicine practitioner. Now is the time to transform your life and take it to a completely new level. Discover who you are and how you work. Open the door to the world of intuition, health, and healing. You can jumpstart your intuition right away by going to www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com and downloading our free guide. Get the opportunity of a lifetime and live the life you deserve. Download your free Jumpstart Your Intuition guide today at www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com and begin living a life filled with passion and purpose.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Go deep inside yourself and venture into the realm of the unconscious mind with my Meditating on the Kabbalah guided imagery audio CDs. Discover who you are and what you want in life. Meditating on the Kabbalah can help you to open, clear, and revitalize the energetic pathways of your subtle being. They will support you in your spiritual quest by helping you to access the profound insights and inner guidance you need as you work in alignment with your highest good. Let them help you to release negative thoughts and emotions and clear away any limitations that may be keeping you from experiencing your full potential. Walk down the path to health, healing, understanding, and enlightenment with Meditating on the Kabbalah. Order your copy today at www.soulhealer.com. That's right, that's www.soulhealer.com.
Hello, Inception Radio Network. Would you like your favorite show to be played again live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands with IRN's live request portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's live request portal now gives you exclusive access to all the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click request, even write a dedication message, and that's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the live request tab under the show menu. Now playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for staying tuned to the second hour of the show. We are going to have such a good time. We're going to be speaking with my really good friend, Anthony Sanchez, about ghosts, extraterrestrials, and spirit communication. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can jumpstart your intuition today by downloading their free 50-page guide. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. Let me tell you a little bit about Anthony, and we will get him on the air. Software developer, UFO researcher, and media personality, Anthony Sanchez will delve into his own experiences with extraterrestrial UFOs and government cover-ups. He will also delve into his latest venture, the development of software to work in combination with hardware to do one thing: detect paranormal activity. Wow. And so please welcome Anthony Sanchez. Hey, Anthony, how's it going?
Hi, Rita. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, you know that I love you, and, having you on is just an honor to me to get to hang out with you.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. And I'm looking forward to talking about all the new things that I'm involved with and how they affect everybody in the paranormal community.
Well, and you have just been so busy, but before, I mean, we're going to totally talk about your new developments, your new software projects, but I wanted to talk about and kind of connect where we had talked before and now, because it's kind of been a while since you've been on the show. And when you were on last, we had been talking about your book, UFO Highway.
Right.
And I know that there had been some developments, there was some controversy about it, but then some developments happened that seemed to change the way people were thinking about your work. And I was wondering if you could just talk about what's happened in the last year or so that has, brought forward evidence to support your claims. How's that?
Well, I can tell you that the biggest thing that happened was last summer, Linda Moulton Howe was contacted by someone who is one of the pillars of the UFO community. I cannot mention his name, but he is very highly regarded, as is his son. With regards to, I can't say it because then I'll out him, and I don't want to do that. But I will say that he worked at McDonnell Douglas for over 35 years, 40 years, and he has a PhD in, I believe, aeronautics and other fields. The guy's just a genius. He contacted Linda Moulton Howe and told her that if she had not read the book UFO Highway, that she needs to. And he apologized to her because the copy of the book that he had was very difficult to come by. And at the time, the book was being listed on Amazon for like $400 a copy, on eBay for like $200 a copy. It was ridiculous when people, could have just gone to my site and bought it for $20, right? And you could even find it for free online because it's been downloaded as a PDF so many times. But the funny thing is Linda told him, actually, I'm staring at a copy of it on my bookshelf right now. And what he didn't realize is that several years earlier, Norio Hayakawa had sent her a copy. Actually, no, I sent her a copy. Norio Hayakawa had spoken with her about the book because, remember, Norio wrote the foreword to the book.
Right.
Anyhow, she called me to apologize to me, telling me that this gentleman had told her the importance of the book and how dangerous the book is. So she went ahead and read the book over a 72-hour period, and we had a 4-hour-long discussion after that. And ever since then, Linda and I have been in contact, and we've done a little bit of work together. And there was a project related to the technology in the book that she has since done an expose on, which you could find on her website, earthfiles.net. And, she does the Earth Files segment on Coast to Coast every month. Mm-hmm. Well, in last August, they did segments on the book and the information in the book, which correlated to the research that she has done over the past 5 years. So I was shocked with the level of information that she provided to me and how everything did indeed correlate. It was very scary. And again, that just lends further credence to the validity and the relevance of the book UFO Highway. There are a lot of people out there in the UFO circles who don't believe it. They don't buy it. They don't care about the book. But I'm, like I've stated all along, I interviewed this person. He told me his story, and I believe it wholeheartedly. I had him submit to a polygraph examination twice. He passed both times. There's no denying the truth in the book UFO Highway. So it's one of those books that's very difficult to get because, for one, I've already had $28,000 worth of inventory of the book stolen from 2 different distribution centers. And I finally had to bring it in-house, literally into my own home and try to keep up with the distribution, which is very difficult, by the way, because I run a software company and I do consulting for the state of California. So trying to be a book distributor on top of being a researcher, an author, a software developer, it's very trying. And a lot of the books, I'm not an expert in distribution, so a lot of the books get sent back to me. They go to the wrong place, but I've had help from my son and one of my friends, and we managed to get hundreds of books out, and it's starting to work out better for me.
But that's cool. Could you, just very briefly for people that are listening to the show today, just tell what the book is about, kind of in a nutshell? I mean, just real briefly.
Right. I interviewed a gentleman way back in 2010 who claims to have worked at the Dulce facility, which is in northern New Mexico on the Jicarilla Apache reservation. That's sovereign Indian land. He says that he worked there as part of a classified medical detachment. Well, initially he worked as a part of a classified medical detachment out of McClellan Air Force Base. And one day out of the blue, he received orders to fly over to Edwards Air Force Base. And at Edwards Air Force Base, he met up with a small team that eventually ended up in Dulce. He had never heard of Dulce. He thought that the briefing documents were talking about Native Americans, when it turns out they were talking about aliens that lived there beneath Mount Archuleta and the Archuleta Mesa, both locations. When he got there, he was responding to an incident that had occurred. There was a firefight, a battle that had occurred between the alien inhabitants and the military establishment there at the base, at the underground base. And that's what the story is about. The story is about how he ended up working there after the fact and providing information on all the different facets of the underground military base. And it's just an amazing, amazing piece of information. And like I said, why would this person who is so highly regarded in the UFO community, who's worked for, close to 4 decades for McDonnell Douglas, who now retired, obviously, who is a PhD from a major university, why would he contact Linda Moulton Howe and tell her that the book is dangerous and she needs to read it? And then she calls me, apologizes for not paying attention to the book when it was initially discussed with her through Norio. And but now I'm working with her. If you could find lots of information on not just the book but additional black projects that have resulted because of the technology that is coming out of Dulce, New Mexico, at her website earthfiles.net. It's amazing stuff. And I keep telling people, there is something going on in northern New Mexico that we know very little about, and it needs to be investigated. Luckily for me, Norio Hayakawa and I are friends again. We had a little, I don't know why we lost contact. It was a Facebook thing, but he's such an amazing person. I have so much respect for him. And I think the pressure was getting to Norio from a bunch of people. And he finally just decided to kind of just, go away for a little bit or whatever. But he's back. He's a wonderful man. And I'm so proud to have a friendship with him. And I love Norio because of his skeptical nature. He's very skeptical when it comes to places like Area 51 with regards to an alien component, and Dulce, New Mexico. But, it's people like Norio that have, demonstrated to me that, there are, in fact, top secret, black budgeted military locations that are underground, like in Pico Rivera, Pine Gap in Alice Springs, Area 51, the S4 facility, and New Mexico, Dulce, New Mexico. So, and then there's the Cabazon Indian Reservation in Southern California. I mean, there are places that are connected to the government, via a black budget that's, advancing the military-industrial complex. And this is what, that's part of what I research. It's funny because the paranormal stuff that I have resulted as a fact of through an application that I was developing to take to Area 51. That's a whole nother story.
A whole nother story. Since its release, has any new information come out regarding underground bases or the reptilian influence? I know that since your book came out, I know that my level of understanding of what is going on around the world has been increasing, even though it still blows my mind. But what have you uncovered that blows your mind?
Through a series of interviews with hundreds of people, I have managed to synthesize much more data that points to the reality of a gray alien, presence on this planet, having to do with these underground facilities. I have never really been a big proponent of the reptilian aspect to this, but I have received so many emails, so many Skype calls, private messages through Facebook of people that have had personal experiences with a reptilian presence, with a reptilian, I don't know how to judge that. I don't know how to quantify that information. All I can say is that these are credible people. We're talking about doctors, attorneys, people that work for their local government, people that work at Fortune 500 companies. Quite amazed, actually, at some of the people that have contacted me with regards to, them being abducted by greys or being visited and impregnated by reptilians. I mean, it's very, very, shocking to me how credible these people are in their daily lives. Yet there's that level of questionability with regards to the information they're providing. How do I quantify it? And, ultimately at the end of the day, when I walk away, it's like, okay, I can't deny what these people are saying. Something is happening to them. It needs to be researched. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I do. Right now, I'm providing Linda Moulton Howe with information with regards to a project. If you recall, I was going to have another book come out called Project Leonid. And Leonid was an acronym that stood for Low Earth Orbit Nanosatellite Interceptor Defense. That was way back in 2011. Okay, I was talking about stuff that since that time has prompted congressional hearings. For instance, I went onto the radio with Jerry Pippin, may he rest in peace, I miss him so much, with Jerry Pippin and Mel Fabregas 1 week before the mainstream media announced that Professor Philip Carver and his students had conducted a 2-year survey and discovered that there was 3,000 miles of underground tunnels in China. Well, I reported, based on the information that was given to me by this retired United States Air Force colonel, that there were indeed 3,500 plus miles of state-of-the-art underground facilities that were magnetically shielded, electronically. Oh my God. That they were grounded and magnetically shielded. State-of-the-art facilities, living facilities. And the way he puts it, for whoever can afford to live there. Why would anybody want to live there? Well, the general consensus is that something huge is going to happen someday. Back then, we were all thinking, oh my God, it's 2012, December 21st. Well, electronically grounded, magnetically shielded, state-of-the-art living facilities. It's kind of like the movie 2012, The Arks. Think about the people who were paying $1 billion a ticket to get onto those arks. That's the scenario that's being painted for me by the people in the know. So it's kind of funny that 1 week before the mainstream media was out, my information was already out on the non-mainstream media through 2 separate shows. And a full-blown congressional hearing resulted in the information, because of that information. And by the way, let us not forget that Professor Philip Carver was a former Pentagon specialist. He was an analyst in multiple areas. So,
do you think the government or whoever, we'll just say those people, the powers that be, are planning on doing something that would require having all of these underground bases, underground tunnels, underground facilities? Because you're talking about China. I know that there are all kinds of, tunnels underneath the United States. We know that there are tunnels all in South America. We know that there are tunnels in Europe. I mean, we know that there are tunnels everywhere. And so do you think that there is something coming down the pike, a quote unquote natural disaster that might wipe out the surplus population? Or
funny, you remember Jay Weidner?
Mm-hmm.
Jay and I, back in 2012, were having a conversation, and he was just blown away with the information that I was providing him. Because Jay is a genius. If for those who are listening, you look up Jay Widener. He talks about the archons.
He's been on the show several times.
Right. He's an absolute genius. And he and I were having a discussion, and we were talking about some of the shows that were on the air at that time. I think it was Ancient Aliens or UFO 100. No, Ancient Aliens. And they were talking about the Central Basin of Mexico, Teotihuacan, and how that entire area was covered in mica, which is a mineral. And in the show, they were saying how, the spaceships were coming and going, and the aliens were living with them there in Mexico, and that's why everything was covered in mica. And I told him that I absolutely did not buy that theory at all. My belief, first of all, the mica, the closest source of mica to the Central Basin of Mexico was 3,200 miles away in Brazil. How did they get the mica? We're talking hundreds of thousands of tons of mica that was used to cover the streets, the outer, areas of all the various edifices, not to mention the underground of Teotihuacan, all the passageways, the storage facilities. What most people don't know is that beneath Teotihuacan are some of the largest natural caverns underground in all of North America. And so all of that was lined. My thinking was based on the information of the history that is known about the warring city-states throughout Mexico at that time. In the 1st century AD, something unprecedented happened. All of these warring city-states came together, worked in harmony for the next 800 years. It was something that didn't happen throughout the known history of Mexico at the time. It wasn't Mexico at the time, it was just pre-Columbian. But what I believe that happened was, Rita, is that these people were mathematical geniuses. They were astronomical geniuses, and they knew that something was going to happen 8 centuries later. And so they started to work to build up Teotihuacan into this massive, massive city where all these people came together. I think that the mica was meant to protect them from some solar catastrophe or some type of, remember that they revered the sun. Let's not lose sight of that as well. So I think that they knew something was going to happen. And isn't it funny that the entire population, after whatever occurred in the 8th century AD, disappeared? They all just magically disappeared. Why would they abandon that facility, that place?
Okay, well, I'm like, okay, they're magically delicious. Well, I mean, when I think of mica, I think of its insulating capabilities.
Right. It's still used in the semiconductor industry and the electrical sector. It's very, very much used as part of the space shuttle program. We're talking about something that is highly heat resistant. Something that has, even in the transparent state, it's still highly heat resistant.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I believe is that the extraterrestrials that were here, a certain percentage of them had issues with solar radiation. And so they had to do things to insulate themselves, from the surface radiation. Right. And I believe that they coated their skin with either gold or red ochre to prevent, their skin being exposed, which is why they were the shining ones, because they were sparkly. Anthony,
I read your book, Rita.
Well, I'm just sharing. That's right, I forgot.
But no, I'm in total agreement with you. There's so many possibilities. But anyway, Jay was tripping out on that whole explanation of mine, and he's the one that pointed out to me. He says, "Oh my God!" He goes, "You realize, their reverence for the sun?" I'm going to say, "Yes. What a major correlating component to all of this." So,
and they all disappeared.
And they all disappeared. I mean, the theory is that many of them just abandoned the area. But why would they abandon the area? Yes, there's a lot of people that talk about, oh, well, the area itself could no longer potentially sustain crops, that they over cultivated the land. There's that theory, but I tend to think it has something to do with the fact that they imported somehow, all this mica and layered their entire city with it, above ground and beneath the ground. It's kind of strange.
Well, and if there was something that happened there, that had to do with the solar thing, it might have burnt up the soil so that the soil wasn't any good to grow anything with.
True, that's true.
I mean, there's lots of possibilities
leading up to why they would have abandoned the area. But what did they know? How did they know this? Why did these warring city-states come together at the time and work in relative harmony? Strange.
But it kind of makes me think of, like Noah, where he had this advanced knowledge and took action on it. But I think that it is...
Right. The aliens were talking to Noah, yes.
And that's documented.
Right. I'm going to get chewed up on Facebook over that.
What? That it's documented?
Right. That Noah was talking to aliens, and it was documented.
But it was. It's in the Enulu Elish where Enlil or Enki is talking to Arpushnurpal. And actually, it's not in that. It's in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
It's the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Read Wall.
Part of the Atrahasis. Yes, I know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right.
Anyway. Let's shift gears here because we have a whole other thing we need to talk about, and that is your new project. Anthony, for the past year or so, you've been working feverishly on a new group of ghost hunter apps. What turned you into that direction of addressing ghosts and ghost hunting and detecting ghosts?
I have always been interested in the paranormal. Coming from a Latin background, it's just a given that in every household of every family member, there were always discussions of, especially being heavily Catholic, of angels and demons. And when the movies came out in the 70s and the 80s about exorcisms, that just kind of piqued everybody's curiosity. And, having both Italian and Mexican heritage, there's just that heavy Catholic component with all the old stories about ghosts and spirits, and so and very superstitious people. It's just a natural part of my makeup, and so it's intrinsic to who I am as an individual to want to know about that stuff. It's just something that I've always been interested in. Oddly enough, the prototype for my first ghost box was never meant to be a ghost box at all. It was meant to be a tool that I was developing so that I could take to the perimeter of Area 51 and scan a frequency, the ultra-high frequency, which through my research of Paul Benowitz and various other people like him, I believe is where radio transmissions of alien communication takes place. So when Bluetooth technology came about, which what it does is it scans the ultra-high frequency range. It's the industrial, scientific, medical, industrial high frequency range, which is from 2.402 megahertz to 2.485. SANS 3, which are reserved so I can scan 79 frequencies. I wanted to be able to listen on each one of those frequencies and detect electromagnetic interference, see if I could pick up on any type of strange communication. What most people don't understand is that in the ultra-high frequency, there are no radio stations. There are no music. There's no music being played. You're not hearing anybody talking. But you can hear the distortion effect of electromagnetic interference, which is the same thing as radio frequency interference. So they're one and the same. They're identical. So using a brand new method through programming, I was able to do that, and spent hours, trying to listen on the ultra high frequency for aliens, and or strange encrypted encrypted transmissions out there in Rachel, Nevada, and in Alamo, Nevada, all along the southern border, the southeastern border of where supposedly the S4 facility is, Area 51. But to my surprise, I realized that my prototype, radio scanner was doing something else. It was picking up strange signals. It was picking up not so much signals as distortions in the electromagnetic interference. So I thought about the paranormal community and how many well-known, ghost hunters and ITC researchers have always postulated that electromagnetic interference could be the cause of spirits or unknown entities, on the other side. So I put that to the test, and I devised a way of pre-recording the raw material, which is the basis for EVPs, like phenomes and carrier signals that I could record, and then split into thousands of little micro audio files, MP3 files, that I could then assign to an intelligent a matrix or setup, like in a database, for each frequency, where it's the frequency plus the signal strength, from like 0 to whatever the divisible amount is, based on the number of audio files that I have, against the number of known frequencies. And I did that, and lo and behold, the GB1, the Ghostbox 1, was born. And it has now since been sold around the world to thousands of people. After the GB1 came the GB Rift, which is more popular than the GB1. And now I'm working with one of the pillars of the paranormal community and one of the most respected people in ITC, that's an acronym for Instrumental Transcommunication, Steve Huff. Steve Huff has like millions of followers. I mean, it's just crazy. The guy has so many people that follow him because of he's like a spirit magnet. I mean, he literally is like a spirit magnet. He uses, traditional ghost boxes that are analog physical boxes that can scan radio, like the AM and FM stations. And he is able to find, in this maze of audio, he's able to find direct replies from spirits. And he shares those online. And I worked with him to create an app which does the same thing, but with internet radio stations, very much like the one we are talking on now. Shoutcast technology. I can scan shoutcast radio stations and perform ITC research. And the SCD-1 is probably the most popular ITC tool software, in the software category in the world. We have sold a lot of them, and there's so many people who are fast becoming popular in the paranormal field. Various teams like Chill Seekers, Spurrier Paranormal. Just all these big teams that are adopting the SCD-1, using it as part of their ghost hunting repertoire, and coming back with amazing information. There's just so many people. It's just amazing. Dave Spinks of who I work closely with, and who I met through Ghost Hunter apps. He is, in fact, probably one of the best ghost hunters in the country. Out of West Virginia, he travels the whole country. He uses the apps extensively, along with all his traditional ghost hunting apps, tools that are not apps. And he makes videos of the stuff, and the stuff that he captures is just amazing. So there's a good friend of mine. Her name is Noreen Balovich, and she does live ITC sessions on YouTube. And we take the apps and we'll put a Skype session together where they can see me, they can see like Dave or whoever we have at the time. It's typically me, Dave, and Noreen whenever this happens. And we'll have hundreds of people watching live, and then over the course of the week, thousands of people will eventually see the ITC session, go back, play it on their own, and come back with evidence that we missed during the live show. And this is the power of ITC, the direct replies coming through these electronic transmissions. It's in these radio waves. It's just amazing.
I mean, it sounds fascinating. I've never really had experiences working with the spirit box, and all right, I have to tell you, it's like you set your software. So one of my good friends who's also a ghost hunter came over and we set it up, and I think I'm like the antithesis of a ghost magnet. Because we were going all around the house and asking questions and doing all this stuff, and it was like we weren't getting anything. And I know there were spirits in this house,
right? Well, it's like I tell people, I'm horrible at ITC. I'm good at developing the apps, but me personally, I don't have the same level of success that many of these seasoned veteran paranormal investigators and ITC researchers do. It takes a lot of practice. I get very impatient with my own software, and I'm like, damn it, why is no one talking to me? It's because I'm impatient, and I know better. I need to be calm, go back, review my recorded session, pay attention. I slow down the audio, actually. Sometimes I speed it up. Or sometimes I'll put it in reverse. Sometimes I'll slow it down and put it in reverse. And then lo and behold, like magic, I get a direct response to my exact question. And it's there, you just have to find it. And like I said, there are people who are so good at that. And me, I'm kind of like I'm very good at developing the software, the technology, but I'm still learning myself. Tim Woolworth of itcvoices.org is amazing. I think he's just like Steve Huff. He is a spirit magnet. He's so good at what he does. I watch his videos. I read his blog. Again, it's itcvoices.org, and his name is Tim Woolworth, and he is an amazing historian, researcher. This is the type of person I want to emulate when it comes to ITC. Same goes for Bill Murphy, who's a scientist and a researcher of the paranormal. He was on Fact or Fake Paranormal Files, which was on the Sci-Fi Network. Well, Bill uses my apps, and he endorses my apps, and that's an endorsement that I'm dumbfounded over. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would get people like Tim Woolworth, Bill Murphy, Steve Huff. These are like major names in the paranormal field. They're all endorsing my apps. So that alone speaks for itself.
Well, and I agree with you that there are certain people that, that's their tool. Where some people, right, they're good with dowsing rods, and some people are good with pendulums, or some people are good with different tools.
I've seen people that use
I think that's
spirit boards. Right, I've seen people use spirit boards, like a Ouija board, and where it moves on its own. Rita, I literally have seen with my own eyes where the planchette will move on its own without them even touching it. Their fingers are like 2 or 3 inches away. How they do that, I don't know, but it's something that these people say they don't even know how it's just something that's intrinsic to their nature and ability to communicate with the other side.
So is this something that anybody can use? I mean, it sounds like it might take practice, but is it something that anybody can get and then start working with?
Oh, any of the apps anybody can use immediately. One of my most popular applications is the Spirit Radar. I have it's a Flux Spirit Radar and Vox. Vox is a Latin word for voice, and what it does is it literally pings the scannable circumference of the area of the USB, of the Bluetooth transmissions. So, or the Bluetooth area, scannable area. So it what it does is it pings from the center outward and back in 360 times. Each instance is for a degree in 360 degree circumference. And each time it pings outward to the edge and then back to the center, it's looking for it's looking to intercept a radio or electromagnetic interference, which is the radio scanning, which is also happening at the same time. So there's two things happening at once. So there's a ping that is trying to intercept electromagnetic interference. If nothing happens, you see nothing. If that happens, an energy blip will appear at that exact moment at the exact location of the ping, where the ping detects the electromagnetic interference, and that's the energy blip that will appear on the radar. I'm using real scientific principles, real technology, real math to accomplish this. One of the reasons why I wrote an app like that, was to erase the black eye given to the paranormal community by another person who made a ghost radar application that was extremely popular. That you
could put on your phone?
Right, that they later found out was 100% fake. Somebody was able to look at the source code and they saw that it was pure randomization. It was fake. So it's really sad. I'm trying to undo that type of, bad publicity to the paranormal software community and bring it back to a state where it's respected. And I now have thousands of people that are users of the applications from some of the best teams worldwide. A lot of these people are independent investigators and independent researchers who operate on their own. They're not part of any team. And they do some amazing stuff. They post their videos on YouTube. There are people out there who say that my stuff is fake. It's simply because they don't understand it, or they themselves are a competing software company and are extremely jealous of the quick success that my company has had over the past year. All these major endorsements, all these major paranormal teams, and it's just... It's really sad. I even get caught up in it, getting in these arguments and these debates that are totally unnecessary, and they just detract from the real purpose, which is to erase the negativity of, the bad publicity that came about of these fake apps. So I'm trying my best to undo that. I fight these feelings of anxiety and depression because of all the constant arguing and battling that goes on. And it's just, I want to move forward from that. I want to continue to develop apps. I have a new app that's coming out called the Vocubus, and the Vocubus is a 4-channel ghost box with an integrated radiation emulator, an old-fashioned TV set with the static that you would see, which comes from, the cosmic radiation. That's what you're seeing when you see an old TV. Remember in the old days, the TV, you have the static? That static is actually coming from space. It's actually cosmic radiation that's causing that, and the reception of the television, that's what it's picking up. So I have an algorithm that emulates that. It's really trippy, and I've added imagery as a part of that, which is sort of like imagine like a tarot deck, and these images again are triggered by electromagnetic interference. When a specific signal is affected at a specific signal strength, the database knows to look for a specific image to show. So you can see patterns emerge, colors emerge. It's really cool stuff. I'm working on that now. Should be releasing that soon. And but yeah, anybody can use my apps. Right out of the gate. I even have young teenagers who are part of the Ghost Hunter Apps users group on Facebook, who are very interested in ghost hunting. They're using my tools, because they're not difficult to use. They're just take a little bit of patience. That's all.
With the one that you were just talking about, is there some kind of a sensor that you attach to your computer to collect the data from the ambient air, or from the area?
Yeah, excellent question. Absolutely. So you need a Bluetooth dongle or a Bluetooth adapter, which you can buy for like $5 on Amazon.com. Most new laptops and tablets already have Bluetooth built in. It's already integrated into those systems. And there's a little blue icon on all my apps that you can click, which will tell you if your Bluetooth is scanning, and if it's there and if it's scanning. So yeah, that's a great question. And if you have an older laptop or an older tablet or PC, just go to Amazon and buy a Bluetooth dongle, a USB Bluetooth dongle, or adapter for $5. You can get a better quality one for like $20, but I have a little Chinese one for $6.99 that I bought. Works perfectly.
Mm-hmm. So Sky in the chat room wanted to know, do the different colors mean anything?
Oh, well, the colors are determined. They're predetermined. I work with a graphic artist, creates all these images that are then assigned to specific frequencies and then the signal strengths within the frequencies. So the colors have nothing to do with like thermal imaging or thermal patterning, anything like that. It's just if a specific frequency is being affected over and over, you'll see that particular image or within the range of images of that particular frequency emerge as a pattern. So that's the purpose of it. Nothing to do with color.
That would be very interesting if you put in, you mentioned tarot cards, if you put in different images and then you were able to train the ghost, which I do believe the ghost can be trained to set up a series of patterns that they could actually answer your question based on the imagery. And all right, I was having a little psychic moment on you there, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, no. So I have two apps that I'm working on. I have a tarot app and I have a demonology app that address that exactly what you were talking about. So those are new. Those are in development. So those will be released soon.
Okay, so I'm just going to make a little commentary on the tarot app. You should base it on the Tree of Life and the different worlds in the Tree of Life because they all correlate to the tarot cards, but the different worlds in the Tree of Life correlate to frequency.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to have to bring you on. I'm going to have to bring you on as a consultant to make sure that I do that right.
Okay, we'll do. That would be a fun project.
Right.
That'd be fun. Because then I think you would actually get some better data. I mean, because this is coming off of ancient wisdom, how they all line up and stuff. So, sweet. But that would be so cool. I mean, because I think being able to give the ghost, there's giving us tools, but giving the ghost tools that they can use in order to communicate more effectively with us is awesome.
Oh, it is. And I agree. So a lot of tools in development, Rita, a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe. And I'm going to have to consult with you and get to work on this tarot app. I know so many of the people that are my friends on Facebook who are part of the user group that are friends through my website, by the way, which is ghosthunterapps.com. www.ghosthunterapps.com. There's a lot of people that participate in the forum out there who they want me to put together two apps in particular. Now, I started one of them being the tarot app, and the other one being the spirit board, the Ouija board app. And I started to work on the spirit board app, but it's strange. I started to experience a lot of weird stuff while I was working on that app. I was at a real rough emotional time in my life, so I kind of decided to back away from it. But I started it, and I showed it to a few people, and they were amazed. So it will be released later this year.
Sweet.
Yep.
Now, aren't you working on a new project or you have a special offer? I know there's like something special coming up.
Right. Next week, for 7 straight days, I am going to be working with Connie Willis, who's a guest host on Coast to Coast AM, and Dave Spinks from West Virginia, David Weatherly, who's the author of the Black Eyed Kids and the Strange Intruders books, Steve Huff. We are going to be going to, and Noreen Balovich from Paranormal Zone TV. We're going to be going to multiple haunted locations in California and Nevada to film 3 episodes for paranormalshock.tv. The website is paranormalshock.tv, and it is a really, really fun project. I'm really excited about it. And it's filming next week. All next week we'll be filming there. Everybody's flying into California, driving into California. And then we are on the road doing 3 episodes, shooting for 3 episodes. So our first is going to be at an old pioneer cemetery, which has never been filmed before for television or webisodes, in Lincoln, California. This is the Manzanita Cemetery. It's a very haunted location. I've been there multiple times, and I'm going to be bringing the whole group with me. And after that, we're going to the Georgetown Hotel and Bar in Georgetown, California. Mind you, both of these locations are in gold country, Placer County, El Dorado County. This is where all the old, the old mining towns sprung up, and where all the killings and all the treachery and everything you can imagine that happened during that era happened. After that, by the way, so at the Georgetown Hotel and Bar, we're going to be doing an overnight location and, an overnight investigation, and we have been given unprecedented access to their attic, which is off limits to everybody, but which in the old days was a brothel for the miners and stuff. So, oh God, it's going to be a lot of fun. After that, we're going to Virginia City, Nevada, and the Gold Hill Hotel. We rented a haunted cabin. It's actually an old 2-story house. It was built in 1862. I've been there before. And, by the way, I should mention that Linda Potter, who's a past life regressionist, a psychic, and a good friend of mine, she is also going to be joining us in Nevada. Hopefully, fingers crossed, she should be joining us in Nevada. So, I got to tell you, Rita, I had my first major Class A EVP that scared the living hell out of me at that place. It's called the Brewery Lodge. It was built in 1862, and I stayed in this one room, and I left my handheld recorder in there. And when I came back to investigate, just listen to what was recorded, I could hear all of us talking in the adjacent room. We were having like a lunch and conversation. But in my room, I mean, literally, it sounded like somebody picked up my recorder, and this is what it said. I swear to God, Anthony. And I was like,
all right, that's like creepy. I'm not staying in this room.
I wanted to get the hell out of that house so fast. I was like, I showed it to all 3 of my kids. I showed it to Rick Prestel from MUFON. Everybody that was there at the house. 3 AM Paranormal, Treva and Bill White, a couple that I know from California. They're investigators. Linda Potter was there. This house is just so haunted. Everybody heard it. And during our ITC sessions, our names kept coming up. Mine in particular, it was just freaky. But the first day we got to that house.
Hey, Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony, we only have like 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Everybody go to paranormalshock.tv if you want to learn about the episodes we're filming. And if you're interested in my book, UFO Highway, it's at ufohighway.com. And if you're interested in the paranormal software, go to ghosthunteraapps.com. And Rita, I love you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, I love you too. And I'm just going to put in a little plug. If you want like a whole haunted town, there's Jefferson, Texas, which I live 15 miles away. It's one of the top 10 cities, most haunted cities in the country. And I have access, baby. I got access.
Well, we're doing episodes 4, 5, and 6 headed out your way. So that might be in the cards.
Okie dokie. Anthony, thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's Anthony Sanchez. His webpage is UFO Highway, as well as ghosthunteraapps.com. And then next week, we are going to be talking to Timothy Wiley about the Lucifer Rebellion, fallen angels on Earth. Until next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy Radio. Be blessed.
Join host Dr. Rita Louise each week at this time for Just Energy Radio.